Same? Which one are we going by? You said what?
We're live. We're training.
Okay.
Okay, since we have started streaming, I will address that in just a second.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. We are here for the community engagement meeting, first of 24, so welcome everybody. First order of business is to do a roll call.
Ms. Brewer.
Here.
Ms. Cheney.
Here.
Ms. Mail.
Here.
Ms. Snyder.
Here.
Dr. Fisher.
She is excused.
Okay. Mr. Sickles. Here.
And I do want to note that we've got Ms. Cheney on the list of committee members, and solely for the purpose of the education report, so. All right, next item of business is to set the agenda. So there were two versions of the agenda. I did send out an email to those that I had email addresses for, so I apologize for not getting it to everybody. The version that is on the website is the most current. The one that I sent out would have had the one starting with GM community engagement. That is the most up-to-date one. And the only difference is that we added 2 agenda items, which are on there.
Tracking. Okay, so GM is the update.
Is the updated one.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Tracking.
Yep, yep,
I see the difference now. I was like, where is the extended
yep.
time?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so do we have a motion to set the agenda for this evening?
Motion to set the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'm not officially on, right?
Great.
Okay, then I'll second. I
Perfect.
would like to look at it for a second, but yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right, we do not have anybody officially registered to address the committee. So the next step on the agenda here is to adopt Robert's Rules of Order. Similar to all of the other meetings that we have been in. Do we have a
I'll make
motion?
Motion. We'll stick with Robert's rules.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right, the minutes from the last meeting, I know that I've reviewed them myself, but has everybody had a chance to review them? They've been out there for a little bit. All right, motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Sure.
We're just trying to get to the meat. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Need your signature.
Perfect.
Just. once it's for-
Yeah, I wasn't at it, so I didn't review the minutes,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't know if they're right or not.
Well, now we'll have them going forward.
Huh?
Now we'll have them going forward.
Yes, I'll definitely
Yeah.
take them going forward.
Okay, so we got through all of that to get to new business. So I want to preface all of this before we jump into it is that I understand that this agenda is pretty packed in terms of like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff to talk about. We are in a very fortunate position to where just with how the schedule for the year is shaping out, and having to do council meeting at the beginning of the month and then committee meetings the 3rd week of the month, that will be then flipped for the rest of the months of the year, where we'll do our committee meetings first and then our full council meeting the 3rd week, so that we're giving all of those updates in our council meeting. And then Mike, I will send you a copy of the proposed schedule for our committee meetings, and just let me know if that presents any issues or anything like that. But we are in this unique spot where we can kind of talk about things at a surface level this evening. We can dive in for a couple of questions, as they arise. But really, it's just kind of to get stuff out there so that we can kind of sort through it, organize it, prioritize it, and then think about it over the next 2 weeks. And then when we reconvene, we can dig in and do more of the work then. Make sense? Cool. Is there anything that anybody wanted to bring to the agenda that I've not captured on here already? Any thoughts so far before I dive in? Or we can do that at the end too. Cool. All right. So first and foremost, neighborhood communications. This has been something that I feel like we've been talking about for a little while, just amongst the community, not necessarily within council. But it is something to where we want to kind of streamline the communications process to make sure that the, for example, like our Facebook group, making sure that it is something that is run by either residents that are on this committee or that is run as an offshoot of our newsletter or something along those lines. And figuring out how we are having a more like multi-pronged approach so that when we need to disseminate information out into the community, we aren't relying on just one manner of communication, whether it's the newsletter that may not make it to everybody's houses for one reason or another, or social media because people aren't on social media, or whatever else we decide to do as we move forward. So I've got a couple of items listed in here. Anybody have any thoughts before I keep going? I don't want to spend the whole time talking but
It's been a minute since I moved to Golf Manor, but I remember trying to get connected and finding several, and this was before Go Golf Manor's group existed,
yeah,
several unused, either, I think one was a group, one was a page,
Yeah.
and so I think finding who owns those, either taking them over and then, or getting rid of them so that, people aren't choosing,
Right.
Yeah.
trying to pick to see which one's the correct one.
yeah. And I definitely think that we have, so like, I know the Go Golf Manor Neighbors group is something that is functioning as like our neighborhood Facebook group.
Yeah.
However, like we know that there are challenges with how it is being run and unfortunately who is running it. So it is something that if it's going to be tied in any way, if we are going to use it as a vehicle to have communication going out from the village, we need to make sure that it is safe.
Yeah, I would be a proponent of revisiting some of these here and have like a government ran one, because one of the policies in the neighborhood group is like no politics. Yeah, so literally it could just be us getting information out and even share it through that group. But I think it's also important to have an avenue for them to talk back to us too, because I'm under the impression that either some of these pages, I can't say I follow them, but they might just be outgoing information, like updates or notifications. We're really, if we're engaging, we need to listen back as well.
Right.
So I would be curious to go through, and I'm not even on, I mean, what else? We always talk about Facebook, but are other residents on?
I
X?
know
I don't
there used
know.
to be
Yeah.
a decent amount in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Was that called Neighbors app?
Oh,
But
we
I
don't talk
had
about.
Next door?
Next door.
That's terrible.
I had
Don't
to-
do that.
I had to
No,
I
stop
can't.
going on there.
Yeah,
so-
it's terrible, yeah.
Uh-uh.
But I would
I
be
get
an advocate
updates
of,
from there, but it's never on anything.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
So,
but a group that's specifically like Golf Manor, Village ran, but both incoming and outgoing messages, I think, pretty much only politics, like.
I do think we need to be sensitive to being in a position officially as the village moderating people's speech though. So
Okay,
so maybe we should start with an updated page that then just shares to the Go Golf Manor Neighbors group, and then if we need
Okay.
something more robust like our own group, it might need to be something where we can comment back to people's comments, but I don't think people should be allowed to like
That's
like
fair.
it can't be a full forum.
That's fine, okay.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
Okay. And then I thought, the thought I had too is tying, like kind of looking at it from like a branding perspective to where we're tying the, like the Villager newsletter in with, it's the Villager Facebook group, like the Golf Manor
That's nice.
Villager
Yeah.
Facebook group. And then that way it is all like, it has a bow on top of it basically.
Can we do that without starting a complete new group? Is there a way we can just
Yeah.
rebrand a current group?
Mhm.
So I'm
Like a
aware
business
of
group?
about 4 different Facebook pages that are out there.
Okay.
There's a neighbor-to-neighbor page that the senior citizens are using that hasn't been used for some time. There's a generic Golf Manor page that was made when Facebook first started. That's never been used. There is the official village page.
Okay.
I was posting on Golf Manor, Go Golf Manor,
Mhm.
but I stopped doing that when it started to turn political.
Okay,
And what I've relied on, and Brittany has done a good job of this, but when I post stuff on the village page, she's been forwarding stuff to the
Tracking,
Golf page. So
okay,
the nice thing about that is I don't have to keep looking at 2 or 3 different websites.
right,
Because generally, what I will do is update the website, update the social media accounts. We do have a Twitter account, X, whatever
yeah.
it is. And we also have the app. I would see anything that's social media driven off of what we do for the website, because then we can use graphics that have been produced for the website and stories and things like
All
that.
just the same.
So it just
Yeah.
kind of flows, so we aren't doing multiple things.
Yeah,
The other thing too is we have the email blast through MailChimp.
that's right.
That's another vehicle.
Mhm.
I believe there are about, I haven't looked in a while, maybe 400 different email addresses we've collected through MailChimp.
that's nice,
Okay, good.
And you can still sign up for emails on the website.
Okay.
okay. That might be something we should promote and encourage people to sign up
Mhm.
for.
I mean, if we are crafting one message and we are just copying and pasting or attaching and then off you go, like that will save so much time and reduce a lot of effort on our side. I'm happy to look into that, like, we've talked about it previously, but I'm happy to keep running with that based off of everybody's input. I do think it'll be something really important, and I'll have this prepared for the next time we meet. I do want to have rules around what the social media component will be, so that we are, who is responsible for being the admins on it. It should truly be community driven and not so much council driven. But if there needs to be a tie back, we'll figure that out. But I think if we have a policy that's fleshed out, to make sure that we are avoiding what has happened with our current neighborhood group, that would be in our best
So
interest.
as an aside to that, the solicitor is currently looking at Ohio ordinance
Mhm.
to see if there are any kinds of things we need to be aware of in terms of social media.
Okay, perfect.
So we should have a report on that within the next week or so.
Awesome.
And another idea that's been floating around is the push notifications to cell phones, but you have to get numbers. But given that we already have 400 emails, I mean, maybe pause that for a minute and focus on the email, I don't know.
Yeah, and if we have the ability for push notifications through the app too, so if
Yeah.
it's something,
That's
hey,
what I
we're
think, yeah.
announcing, we were announcing that we are doing, spoiler alert, we're doing a town hall.
Yeah.
We're pushing that out to everybody who has the app as well.
Right.
Question, do we have QR codes anywhere that link to some of that stuff too, or we can put it up anywhere? Any different signs, we have our QR codes could link to the app, could link to whatever page.
That's a bad
A lot of
idea.
people are on
Yeah.
cell phones, they just hit that QR code.
Right.
And you can update, like whoever's administrator, you can update that as necessary.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, it could just be information like, hey, this is coming up, if you wanna check our Facebook, like it just takes a bunch of that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I know that Bryant had done some QR codes on the newsletter,
Mhm.
but I can't remember if it was to link to us. I think it was like to link to a specific survey that we were doing. Yeah,
Actually, we link to specific pages on the website.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
like for the celebration concert,
Yeah,
you scan the URL, and we did that for Breakfast with Santa too. It goes to
Perfect.
that page for that event.
yeah, but I think we can definitely be using that more.
Yeah,
Than what we
especially
are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's easier to people walking around if they're out somewhere,
exactly.
It's becoming more commonplace now too, so.
Yeah, perfect. So the newsletter, there's gonna be more to come on this. I had talked with Ryan, this was a couple of months ago at this point. But, either having it as an excuse to have him come back and say hello to us. Or getting that information from him on what the work was that went into it. I do know that one of the goals for this, and we can decide this at the next meeting, is start thinking about like an editorial schedule so that we know, okay, we need content by this date so that it can be sent by this date, so on and so forth. And so that we can have a commitment to residents on, you should be receiving your newsletter by such and such. And if you haven't, then something is not followed the right procedure. And then we can diagnose from there. Avenue advocates, block captains, whatever you want to call it. Yes.
That's his
Sorry,
point
go
about
back to
night.
the newsletter.
Yeah.
Do we have a firm budget for the newsletter for 2024?
We do not.
Okay, I just know that in the past when we have not had much forethought but wanted to put out a newsletter, then, there were budget issues. So it'd just be nice to know from the get-go what lump sum we're pulling from and
That's a good point.
How do we solve
Work
that?
from
Can we do
there.
that like now?
Yeah, how do we solve that?
Yeah, how do we get a
Money
budget?
in.
Yeah,
Mr. Money in, excuse
Money,
me.
please.
That has to be discussed when we have budget meetings about the 2024 budget. So those discussions have already taken place. Typically, we have those discussions starting in July. The budget is published in August. We get a certified copy from the county in September. And then when we have appropriation discussions in generally October, November, council hopefully passes those appropriations in the current fiscal year for the next fiscal year, typically at the last meeting in November or first in December, then that budget would be for the following year.
Yep.
So, I mean, the budget is currently set. That is not, already most of the way through January. That's not now is not the time for that discussion, though we should have that discussion and, whatever that number is, it should be there. Which, again, how we go by changing that is, there's a lot of these things are kind of set by the county.
Yeah. All right.
So, does that mean that we shouldn't expect to be able to do a physical newsletter for 2024?
I can't tell you what to do with the current appropriations. I can just tell you that the current appropriations are not set for that. Amended appropriations are a possibility. It's something that we have done and we do on a quarterly basis, generally speaking. I think we can put that in, but again, that is not up to me. It's a strategic question of what do you do with this money. I don't even know how much it costs. I think we spoke last year was around $1,000, $1,500.
It depends on what you want to do. The type of newsletter that we were doing, considering there was no labor paid, it was all just printing, was running us about $500 an issue.
Okay.
And that had no delivery involved, and it was just printing and folding the document.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of discussed hypothetically mailing them
yeah, I agree.
going forward, because it is a lot to walk the entire neighborhood and recruit the volunteers for it, which would add probably about another $350, $400 to that
Actually,
cost.
1,000.
1,000. Okay.
Is that for a full page double-sided as an additional 1,000?
That would be, I'm not sure what the bulk is. That would be first class mailing to ensure that it gets delivered to people.
Okay.
Okay. I'll double check, because I feel like I saw the post office's direct mail, it's DM something.
So we've done district mailings that are a lot cheaper, but they are at the discretion of the carrier to take your stuff out if they don't have a lot of stuff that they're carrying with them. And we've had town meetings before where we have sent out notifications to people that came after the meeting itself because the post office didn't deliver on time.
Gotcha.
So, there needs to be a discussion about what the publication looks like, how many pages, what needs to be done to stitch it, prepare it for mailing, and then we need to know what the weight is and what class we want to send it.
Okay.
To ensure delivery.
Okay. All right. So we'll do more research.
Plus also with mailing, you have to send it to a mailing house to address them. So that's part of we don't own our own stamp. We usually use a mailing house to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Anything else on the newsletter? No. All right. Avenue Advocates, and it kind of goes along with seniors aging in place. Literally before this meeting started, we just had somebody pop in who was going to the Tai Chi class. She is with the Council on Aging. Her name is Patricia, so we are going to reach out to her to make a connection there and She has talked about potential other programming that could come in, whether that's in partnership with We Thrive or that kind of thing. But the Avenue Advocates or block captains or what's that?
I was relaying information inspired by Mike. He might have a better idea.
Yes.
Let's hear from Mike.
Tell me,
man.
tell me.
Come on. You call them champions or something, I don't know.
Well, a lot of questions and like, but it can be used in many ways. I even thinking about seniors and aging, if, I don't know, if we have a list of who all we have in the community.
Mhm.
Could be where, is it every month or every quarter that we stop by the house on behalf of Gulf Manor, here's a token of appreciation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Begin to build that relationship and then on top of whatever organization, but also as we're thinking about passing stuff out, instead of walking the entire neighborhood, if we have Avenue Advocates, if I'm on, St. Albans, I'm responsible from that block, from the stop sign to stop sign.
Mhm.
That's a lot easier to do versus sending everybody out to the whole neighborhood. But it also has that relational currency for people that live there.
Mhm.
And so they're better to able to advocate and kind of champion, hey, we got this thing going on, you should come down and check it out versus a complete stranger sometimes coming to a certain block that you may never visit.
Right.
And so this could be used, my idea was to use that for connectivity and also for that relational currency for information and just for connectivity, because most times things happen through relationships.
Mhm.
And so if I'm talking to somebody, hey, you should really come over, and like, oh, I know you're gonna trust you, so then I'll come by. So it can just be an easier way to put on less miles when somebody really wants to get their steps in. But just to be able to take certain corners of the neighborhood, and then I think it also increases some of that, volunteer recruitment down there. We're talking about monthly engagement. It just increases that capacity for people to do that, and I think it's more digestible for somebody to say, I can do from stop sign to stop sign.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my original thought behind it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think exactly as you pointed out, like a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, it is all just one big ball of yarn that is all connected to one another.
Yeah,
So it's hard to separate it all out sometimes. But yeah, so I think those are all, like, these are all strategies that that I want us to explore, so that as we come up with all of these other great ideas, events for the park or events for whatever, it all just goes hand in hand with one another. So.
May I add one more thing to your list?
Sure.
Under seniors aging in place, could we also put welcome wagon?
I was just going to say
Ah.
that because
Yeah. That'd be good, yeah.
Like when people move to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We had an elderly resident who did that, and she's not capable of making those contacts anymore.
Mhm.
And that could be a great first contact with people who are coming into the village.
I love that.
And I love the idea, honestly, of Avenue Advocates.
Mm.
Hi, you're new, I'm your advocate.
Yeah.
And then I chase you off my porch.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if it's just like, I had the thought of like, I saw that somebody moved into Brian's house over on Hamel and was like, okay, maybe I send them a card, just be like, hey, here's some resources, but that's definitely something that, maybe we can do in a much better way that's not just kind of
Download
like
the app.
hodgepodge together. Exactly. With the QR code. Yeah. All right. Anything else under neighborhood communications?
Just the one thing to add about the seniors in place, I think that's why it's important to me that we have like the newsletter gets mailed out. A lot of people, not even just seniors, are just not on Facebook or connected online that way. So, I think it's just, I just want to emphasize other, like whether it's door knocking, phone calls, or, I hate doing that type of stuff, but different avenues to basically engage. Like when we were out campaigning, I remember door knocking. It's like, what is the best way to get information to you? Because there's a lot of people, it's like, I didn't even know such and such was going on. And some of the more seniors was just like, come knock on my door. And I'm just like, who? Like, okay. Like if I'm not expecting you, somebody knocks on my door, I don't answer, but they're welcome. Like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And so, but that could be the same thing. People have landlines, so phone calls. I assume most people do have texts. So at least the text notifications, but yeah, I like push notifications too.
Even if it's just to get a message to them. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to
literally,
text me back.
literally.
Like if that's not your
even,
thing.
Hopefully don't hit stop.
Yeah. Just here's my number.
But look, I'm not saying anything new. I just want to emphasize that we should explore other things other than Facebook to get our messages out. Yeah.
I would say even with that, just looking across generations, and that's why I figured out how do we usher into new age, as well as having some of these older, and I know fiscally that has to be discussed, so this would be more 2025, but how do we usher into the new age to capture some of that? Where, well, I don't know whether it's signs, but then you still have some of those ones we know that door knocking is the best way. Luigi's one of them. He's like, you just come by.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So how do we, it's almost, we're in a unique position because we have to try to figure out how do we embrace this vast generation that spans from all the way back to here. You have some that are in the middle that have both. And so we've got to be able to get all in in this new age and usher that in. So I think that's just something to think about as you're talking about, like letters. Some people don't read letters that come to the door.
Yeah.
But you might have a sign up in different blocks, 2-3 signs in different blocks that are scrolling through information, whatever the case may be. But like you said, just explore how we kind of embrace this gap that we're in as an American society where we've got some generational gaps here. We've got to figure out how to get the word out and just make everybody feel welcome and inclusive.
Yeah. Next thing you know, we'll be doing like Xbox chat room.
Twitch
Like my kiddos. Yeah, exactly.
What is it?
Switch.
Switch, yeah.
Is that the streaming thing?
I
Like,
think so.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'll ask my kids when I get home.
You old school, like the phone tree, like I call you, you call her, you call, and then you know, and then when I get my call back, I know everybody got the best one.
Yeah,
Different
exactly.
back party lines.
Oh.
Actually, I don't even know what that means.
I
Just hearing people say
was like,
it.
that was so
and
problematic.
and
I was
I'm
like, it was like an
oh,
AOL
Lord.
chat room. It was like, oh.
All right, so for the next item on the list here, we've got a strategic plan town hall. So this is something that we talked about in the last council meeting. Council passed a strategic plan back in October. And one of the first things that it does list on here is talking about through community engagement, finding out what the community wants. So we have, it's a 5-page document. It's posted on our website, right?
Correct, yeah.
It is posted on our website. I will also send it out to you. I'll send out the materials that I sent out yesterday, so that we can review it. But also, the first thing we need to do, as decided by council, is we need to get community feedback on it. There's a lot of stuff in here that we need to figure out what are their priorities. I know what mine are, but they're going to be different from yours, and so on and so forth. So we want to hear what the consensus is from the residents that we serve, to figure out how we can best organize this in a way that is, hearing their feedback, that is fiscally responsible, and that is, keeping us realistic about the things that we can accomplish with the resources that we have. So that being said, we do need to find a date for hosting this town hall. With enough time to get the word out. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, from a newsletter perspective, I don't know that the timing's gonna work out for us to get it into a newsletter because we haven't fleshed that out quite yet. But all of our other avenues are open to be able to disseminate the word to residents. Any thoughts on on any particular dates that we would want to avoid?
So with a community hall, when we did the fire department merger, we did 2 separate nights. We did an earlier type of communication, and then we did another later one. I think one was on a Sunday and one was on a Wednesday or something like that, trying to catch people at different times. So I think we had probably 50 people attended each of those. They're not well attended, but that was also prior to some of the communication avenues that we have now. As far as timing, I would just look at the council calendar. Wednesdays seem to be when town hall or the community hall is open right now.
Because Tai Chi is Tuesday, Thursday.
That's
Tai
right.
Chi is Tuesday, Thursday.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Until I think the first week in March now.
Okay.
Is this gonna be in addition to the survey that was already done last year?
Yeah, that one was focused specifically on the parks. So this is going to be everything, anything that the strategic plan covers. So it's going to be from people in neighborhoods to parks and services to image and prosperity to that's it. But anything that's covered in the 5 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
See you guys.
Have a good one,
Yeah.
Mike.
Appreciate it.
No worries.
Motion to excuse Mike? No.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
I apologize as a point of order.
Mhm.
Is Ms. Cheney are you a sitting member of the committee?
Nope, I'm just sitting
Okay,
here.
but you're listed on the, she should not be listed on the minutes?
She should be listed as the education report.
Okay. Good, okay,
Which
we're
really
good.
she is.
Sorry. I just was checking, we had a quorum, which we do, which is the three
Yeah.
members currently.
Got it.
So I just want to make sure that we were. clear on
Oh, yeah.
that's fair. Okay.
that. Okay,
I'm not a
that's fine.
member though. Oh, you are,
Correct, the
that's
three-
right.
yes.
There's
Yeah.
My God.
Ms. Brewer, who do you think should facilitate this conversation? Should it be the mayor? The town hall conversation, that is.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't want to, but I think the mayor is a good idea.
Or vice mayor.
We could do it together. I mean, I think you're doing a fantastic job with this. I would rather you be the point person for the community with regard to community engagement.
Sure.
But I would be happy to kind of do the lead into that and, be present.
Okay.
But have you kind of, we can talk to each other about, what you're comfortable with.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Figure it out from there.
That sounds good.
And do we think we need some sort of visual component to it, like a PowerPoint situation?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. I think that might be where we can divide the labor, is if you wanted to have a short presentation on it. And then I'm literally just facilitating discussion or questions.
Yeah.
And then we would have maybe somebody else as a record keeper for it. And we can figure that out as the date gets closer. But speaking of dates,
Yes. I think we just want to avoid spring break, Easter time,
Yes.
and hopefully we can get it done before then, but who knows?
yes. When is Easter this year?
First
It's
week
like the
of
last
April.
Sunday in March. It's
Oh,
early
March.
this
Yeah,
year.
it's either very end of March or
Okay.
beginning of April.
Okay. Let's just check real quick. It is March 31st. Yeah, so I don't know that I would want to have, gosh. I don't know that it's anything that I want to have any earlier than March, or any later than March 11th, just because we are then running in, that might be the first week of spring breaks that are happening. I feel like that's when my kids.
When's nativity go on spring break?
They are the last week of March.
So you're saying you want it before mid-March? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to make sure that we are not running into people's travel schedules for, spring break. So I've got it marked in here when that might be. Nope, I don't.
And to bolster attendance, maybe we should consider some sort of childcare option, maybe with a couple of on-duty police officers who are conveniently already back-checked, maybe just hanging out in the gym.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of fun.
That's not a bad
Right.
idea. I like
We
that.
also
Yeah,
want
the
to meet the
police.
police
Yeah.
and parents can pay attention.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say food, but yeah, childcare.
Yeah. I mean, we can bring snacks. We know how to bring snacks. I agree. So I think that having a childcare component is a good idea. And I think between now and next week, we'll have some more movement on the background check stuff. And I'll have a clearer timeline of what that'll look like too.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to answer some of those questions.
Awesome.
All right. Any other components for considering a date? So we have that last week of February of the 26th to March 1st, where there's really nothing on the calendar. The council meeting will be the week before, and there's no other committee meetings or anything that week. How does that look for people?
I'll be available whenever we decide to have it.
Okay, I'll let you know a week before.
Very good.
I won't be here then.
You won't be, okay, okay. Is it recommended that we do, if we're doing 2 sessions on separate dates, we have an early session, a late session, is it the thought that we would do them within the same week, or that we are spreading it out over 2 separate weeks to allow for people who might be traveling?
I think the idea of having 2 different days might be better, whether they're in the same week or not, like a Sunday and a Wednesday or something.
Mhm.
Like if you're busy one
Oh, like a
Wednesday,
weekend
I would
weekend.
assume you might be busy during the same time that next Wednesday,
Mhm.
but maybe not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. We could do like an early afternoon Sunday, like a 1 o'clock or something along those lines,
Maybe.
to where we're doing like coffee donuts.
Okay. I know, with church, there was some pushback with
I know,
us.
I know.
For campaigning.
Um,
When will you be available? You said you won't be
I'll
here.
be back. Let's get it right, by the 4th of March.
4th of March, okay.
okay,
So it looks like the hall is available that week. There's nothing booked in there right now,
okay,
Sunday through Saturday.
okay. If we did something like what if we did like the 24th, which is a Saturday?
Of February?
Yeah, we're not competing with Super Bowl or,
Yeah, the Jewish.
I
community.
would be concerned about, the Sabbath.
gotcha. Okay. Do we want to not do it on a weekend whatsoever?
I think a Sunday, but
Sunday,
it's
we'd
like
have to do
a,
it for church though.
yeah, like 3,
Yeah,
4.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Is football over by then?
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's over, what, the 10th, 11th?
Actually kind of late this year, yeah.
Yeah. It was usually always around my birthday.
Same,
weekend.
whenever my
I competed
birthday
with the
falls on a
Super Bowl
Sunday, it
so
will be on
often.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Can come your
We have birthdays coming up.
Okay, so if we are looking at potentially Saturday, the 24th of February at 3,
I think that should be okay.
Yeah.
A Sunday.
or wait, I said Sunday, we said
Sorry,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sorry. Okay, Sunday, the 25th at
Right.
3.
Okay.
Okay.
How long are you thinking it will be?
An hour or 2 maybe?
Yeah, I would probably schedule for 2 hours,
Yeah.
so that way, like, we're spending the first,
Well, it's not enough time.
yeah, an hour's not enough. We want to be able to have maybe 20 to 30 minutes to be able to go through the plan itself. And then an hour for open feedback, or, that last 90 minutes for open feedback. And then if we lose steam, we can always end early. But then we can be available for like one-off conversations if somebody's hesitant to speak.
For 2 hours?
I would have a hard stop at 5:30, but
Yeah.
otherwise that works. I mean, personally, I didn't need anybody else.
Yeah.
I would have a hard stop at 5:30.
Yeah, I think if we aim to be done by 5 p.m., that would be a good commitment of time, I think. Okay, all right, so we've got the 25th, and
Want
then,
to do the 28th as well, the later one?
yeah, do the 28th,
Maybe 6 to 8?
6 to 8, perfect. Is that good with everybody else?
Mhm.
Okay. Cool, okay, we'll start working on that, get the word out. And go from there.
So other than creating some sort of presentation and advertising, there's no work that needs to be done, right? We're just facilitating a discussion, it sounds like. 'Cause that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just facilitating a discussion. We are there to listen to feedback, note it down, you know, if people want to, really is just opening the space to whatever anybody wants to talk about.
Can we update the marquee like soon? Out here?
Sure.
Whiteboard, yeah. You need to start telling people,
Yep.
blasting, yeah.
And then, and, you know, since we don't have the, you know, it'll take a little bit of time for us to get the neighborhood communication stuff up and running. Like we've talked about, we'll use the avenues that we have.
I mean, start a Facebook event,
Mhm.
maybe one way already.
Yep.
First way to do it, Sheridan Bogoff Manor, I guess it'll be allowed.
Mhm.
So,
Do you envision all of council like sitting at a table up front, or just the two of you and perhaps Mr. Hirth up there?
yeah, I don't particularly envision all of council sitting up there. I think that they are all present to the extent that their schedule allows. So that, you know, they can be sought out at any point in time to have a conversation with a resident. But I also envision, you know, just needing kind of that manpower to be able to, you know,
Okay.
work with whoever shows up.
I mean, to me, it makes sense to have the three of us because we overlap with council and community engagement.
Absolutely.
Even just sitting there and.
And I think the more that like we're thinking on it and as the day gets like, this is all, we can make adjustments to what we think the approach is gonna be.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it has to be that formal to me. I just think it's important that people know what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more, I want to foster open communication. I don't want it to be like, you know, like this is a working document. Like this isn't like we're, you know, this is exactly what we're doing line by line by line. Like we are here to listen to the residents and make decisions based off of what they're telling us. And so I don't necessarily, I don't know, I don't anticipate it being very adversarial, but I can see it going, you know,
Yeah,
trying to go off on tangents perhaps.
yeah.
And, you know, perhaps the best thing we're doing is just, you know, thank you for that input. We'll, you know, we'll compile all this data, we'll circulate it back out and then make decisions based off of that information.
Yeah, I'll help, like, with the planning. I think with the presentation, maybe come up with a list of questions that we expect to ask, so they have time to think about it and they're
Yes.
prepared, like they'll know what we're talking about when you get in there.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point, because I definitely think that the more that we are structuring it and saying like,
This is
okay,
what
why have we gathered you
Yeah.
here? Not just to talk at you,
Yeah.
but like, what are we, you know,
Yeah.
how best can we help you with all of this?
So, I mean, I don't have a lot of time, but if we want to get together, not everybody, but like a subcommittee to start planning this, just a couple of meetings, a couple hours up until it happens, I'll join that. I'll volunteer for that.
Awesome, that'd be cool. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Do you want to kind of run with the subcommittee component of that?
I mean, sure, I don't know if it has to be that formal, we just call it a group, I mean, sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's see.
Anything I know how to do is throw a party here and go.
Yeah, you do. All right. Okay, next, speaking of throwing parties, Juneteenth.
Yeah.
I
I usually start ramping up after Black History Month.
okay,
So I'm hoping it can still be related to the village again this year. Maybe the next committee meeting we'll have, I can present like I did last year, have an idea how much it costs, and some kind of lessons learned, I guess. I think the last event, especially, the last two, but especially last year, I think it helped solidify our foundation. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit easier this year. I don't expect my volunteers from last year to be participating much this year. One or two have made it clear, like, I don't have the time this year, so I'll need some help, but hopefully
Okay.
it won't be too much considering, I have the list of vendors who I think are eager to come back. And I saw that attachment you have for that grant. That'll be very useful for us.
Yep.
So to give an idea how much it costs to know what to ask for in that grant, I can have that prepared for the next meeting.
It was there money placed in the budget for Juneteenth this year, or was that money literally given by the grant last year? Was it grant?
We weren't grant funded at all last year. All that money came from charging vendors. And we did a raffle for a Nintendo Switch and we basically broke even with that. And, yeah, we didn't sell the beer. Go Golf Manor sold the beer. So we actually, I have to go back and look at my numbers. Technically, we made a little bit of money selling, like charging the vendors. And we're talking $200 or $300 maybe. But that we charge the vendors to pay for the liquor license and to pay for entertainment. And so really the cost, like we got a lot of support from the village because the advertisement and the marketing, they ate a lot of that cost. So that's the things that we pay for is basically entertainment and marketing. And you charge the vendors with the idea of when people come, it's like all cyclic, get the residents here, customers. But the only way they're gonna come is if there's entertainment and they know about it. So, yeah.
So many took pool tickets last year,
Cool. What kind of thing?
lottery things.
Yeah, we did
Somebody-
that was the raffle for the
There's
the
a Switch.
Is that what you're referring to?
There was a coffee
And there was
basket.
yeah, and a book. No, you guys sold books. What was the two? You guys donated 2 baskets.
Oh, yeah, that's
It was
right.
coffee and what was the other
Coffee
one?
and
Yeah, I remember. So, but a lot of that was
was it
volunteer.
Italian basket?
I don't think it was.
Oh, man.
Some of that was. So remember, you guys had the books
Yeah,
too.
we did.
Yeah, I sure remember something.
Yeah.
Is there a miscellaneous line in the budget for, things that need to be done that you haven't pre-planned like the year before? Like the newsletter or stamps? I'm just curious, can that be an added line miscellaneous for something that could happen something that may happen in the future where you may need money for, or, because now it seems it's like blocked, it's like,
Right.
this is it, it's nothing else, and
It's not set in stone, but what it is unless there is a specific budget item, like we don't budget to overspend, we budget to underspend. Because our budget is very, very tight. Like every single year, we look at, I looked at, again, the Hamilton County estimation for tax income for this year. And I mean, it's like a little scary what they give us as estimates. Now, in the end of the year, we may have a little extra money, and it's at that time, at the end of the year, when we're planning for the following year, that we can put those things in. But again, making that, in order to give money to one item, you have to take away from somewhere else. And that's a challenge that Mr. Hurth has indicated as well. There's certain departments we can't take from, for instance, services, all state funded. I mean, not all, but significantly state funded. There's very limited funds that we can even subtract from in order to put that in. There is some money in the community engagement fund for the year. There's $2,000 in that for the year. So whatever, I think community engagement, that line item is, I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Recreation.
The recreation, thank you. So I believe that goes to the Recreation Commission to determine what that's for, and that has to be approved by council. So if the Recreation Commission decided that they want to spend that money on Juneteenth or any other event, so that just has to go to council, get their approval, and there is money for that.
is the recreation council the same as community engagement?
It is not.
Okay, so
Yeah, they're all different. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about the recreation company.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
how are these overlapping each other, or is it
A little
completely
bit.
different, or?
we have that a little bit further down on the agenda, so we will circle back to your question, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, you are not the only person that conflates the two, because I still do that myself. So it's, very easy to kind of cross pollinate the two. Okay, so just to make sure I understood correctly, you said that there's $2,000 for recreation
Correct.
in the budget. Okay.
Correct.
And then Mel, going back to something you had said with Go Golf Manor doing the beer, was there ever a total or a conversation about the proceeds from any sales, or did that just break even?
I think we both broke even.
Okay,
Any money we got would have been from the vendors.
okay,
But I'll have to go back. It's not been a year, but 6, 8, 9 months. So I have to go back and look at some of that.
Okay, but we can talk about that in
Yeah,
more depth, next month with.
Yeah,
with
let's,
debrief.
let's, so we don't take up too much time,
Yeah.
If I may interrupt you, you mentioned the Hamilton County event planning grant.
Yes, I'm looking
If
at that now.
if that's awarded to the village,
Mhm.
so then we would just have to pass amended appropriation certificate legislation, which Mr. Butler can write up, and we can put that money straight into recreation, and that can be spent.
Okay,
That's not, meaning that's not restricted to our current budget, that would add to our current budget.
okay, perfect.
So there's a trick about that grant.
Yes.
Okay,
So we applied for it last year. We asked for $20,000. We got flatly turned down. Their administrator resigned during that whole process, so we had to keep calling to say, what happened to the grant? Places that got it, I think Woodlawn, Lincoln Heights, there might have been a couple of other smaller communities. Their award of that had to be tied specifically to generating income or employment for residents of the community. So I haven't read this, I haven't read all the detail on this. I don't know if you have, Charlotte.
Yeah,
That
it
just
does
came
mention
out,
vendors.
that it's gonna be available.
Mhm.
I think it's worth looking into, but we have to be careful about how we apply for it.
yeah, so, shifting into the next agenda item is this community-based event grant opportunity.
okay.
So I did attach this one pager that is directly from the website. It does, so it directly correlates to my day job as a grant administrator. But the eligibility requirements are that the event must occur in 2024. It must be a special event scheduled for one day or multiple days over a defined period of time. Routine events occurring throughout Hamilton County are not eligible for funding. So this would be, it sounds like this is something that like we, it's one event or we're making a weekend of it. So it could be Juneteenth and Pride if we do something over the course of June because they're all in that same space. I'm not sure. And that's for us to discuss further and figure out. It must be open to the public. It may be free of charge. It may be free or charge admission. It has to be in an accessible location within Hamilton County. I'm just assuming it's going to be at the park, weather permitting. The event must be able to obtain all required permits and approvals. And to Ron's point, it must create an economic impact for a location, local vendors and or local businesses that can be supported with documentation or credible testimony. And then if approved, it's made on a reimbursement basis and requires invoices and proof of payment by the applicant before reimbursement will be made. So the other component of this is that it can only be used for the following purposes: equipment rentals, marketing and promotion, entertainment and performers, permits and licenses, security and general liability insurance, and it all must pertain to Hamilton County. So the rental equipment must be utilized in Hamilton County, entertainment must be performed, which will meet that requirement, no problem. Ineligible expenses are alcohol and food and drink. So all of that being said, this is something that there is a pretty aggressive application schedule. It is due by February 16th. Again, something I'm used to.
Is the park considered Hamilton County? Is it saying it's limited to only Hamilton County?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
but that's
is
what
the
they-
park considered Hamilton County?
Yeah, we are in Hamilton County. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a Hamilton County park system park, but as long as the event is taking place within the confines of Hamilton County, it meets the requirement.
And I'll say this is all Juneteenth, exactly. Like, we
Yeah,
check all the
honestly, everything
boxes.
you've ever
Absolutely.
described
Yeah,
to me, this sounds
Checks,
like you
literally
can do
checks
it.
these
Yeah.
boxes.
The way I would structure it is that the county pays for the entertainment, the county pays for all the advertising instead of the village funding.
And I was trying to throw that newsletter in there too, at least for one.
That's promotion.
Yeah,
The only question is, because this is a repeat event. This is an event that is happening.
Oh, it's
now.
not
an
a whole
annual.
event.
That was my question.
Oh,
every
I didn't know
year.
that's what that
Annual
meant.
counts
Oh, that's not what I thought they meant.
Yeah,
I was-
so-
I got you.
And
Okay.
there will be other Juneteenth celebrations throughout Hamilton County, so did you say it's gonna be specific?
It'll be the Golf Manor one.
Yeah.
The only Golf Manor one.
I think it is,
Interesting.
I mean, a special event scheduled for one day or multiple over a defined period of time. Routine events occurring throughout Hamilton County are not eligible. See, I'm interpreting that as like if we are doing, you know,
A monthly something.
a We Thrive. This is a horrible example, but like a We Thrive event is being done in Deer Park and Gulf Manor and Amberley,
That's
like that
routine,
same
isn't it?
event. That's routine. Whereas
I'm not sure that's how I read that, but again.
No, that's fair.
You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely.
I don't know if it hurts us to apply, you know, we can.
We can get clear.
I'll email and find out. I'll find out now to be
Okay.
like, here's what we're thinking.
Right, yeah.
Like
right.
before we do all of this work.
So last year we had applied for Juneteenth, for the 4th of July, for the concert, and then for a winter event that the police wanted to do.
Okay.
So when we got turned down, we had to figure out how to fund all that.
Okay.
We ended up not doing the winter event.
Gotcha.
Did you get any explanation as to why you were turned down? Do you remember?
I'm sorry,
Did you get any explanation as to why you were turned down? Do you remember? No.
there was nobody in charge at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is Holly Chrisman who's running this, who's one of the assistant administrators. We do have a relationship with her, so.
Yeah.
But I can get you some numbers, the
Yeah.
support.
And as long as the vendors are Hamilton County, they don't have to be, or, you know, you said we have to supply and provide employment. So as long as employment is with Hamilton County, not just Gulf Manor, is that correct?
Yes.
It just says
Yes.
economic impact for a location, local vendors and or local businesses.
Yeah.
That can be supported. Yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, Hamilton.
Yeah. So I think, if we're thinking that Juneteenth is how we want to apply this, then I'll at least reach out, or I don't want to step on toes,
We'll
but
talk about it.
we'll figure out the best course of action to reach out and get clarification on some of these questions so that we can make sure we have a strong application. Cool. Okay.
All right, I didn't mean to take up that much time with
Can we
you.
just, can you, I don't know how to I don't write grants, but can you use more than one, like Ron did, so you don't put all your eggs in one basket?
It does not appear that we can for this. Just looking at the application, it does talk about,
One specifically?
yeah, it is referencing like one specific event. But I can see where they're maybe allowing it for like a multi-day event. So like,
Okay.
yeah. Yep. All right.
Can I throw one more thing in for you?
Sure.
So since you're talking about the events, if we wish to do another concert this year,
Mhm.
now's the time to be getting the band and all those kinds of things together. Once we get past probably the middle of March, it'll be hard to find entertainment. That's
Okay.
just FYI.
All right.
Maybe for the 5th Juneteenth or a celebratory, we'll get that band, that second wind band.
Yeah.
If you'll take us all at them.
That
Say
would be kinda
before.
cool.
That would be right.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah,
Or the 10th, maybe the 10th one.
Yeah.
I get a big number, not necessarily 3, like 5 or 10.
Fifth is a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Rental properties and tenant rights. So we had talked, which committee did we talk about this in? I think it was executive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking to explore more information, more experts in this space. So as community engagement, that's something that we will be taking on. It is likely work that we'll be doing through a subcommittee so that we are, because we could spend our entire time, which, we're running up on here. So we are going to go a little bit over if that's okay. Everybody good? Okay. I know.
On the agenda, that includes predatory, like landlords that, you come and you move in with 500 and then they raise 3, is it predatory? Does it include that or not?
Really, anything and everything is on the table as it relates to the renters that are in Gulf Manor. I know Ridge Acres is a particular area that when Mel and I were campaigning, that we talked with them a lot. And so we want to make sure that if you are a renter here, that you have a space that is livable, and what can we be doing as a government to help.
Yeah, I think this was something they've talked about like previous councils. But I think our response is just, let's see what the residents actually want or our renters actually want. Because I know what I think they want, but that's the responsibility of community engagement to, because if they're not gonna report it, it doesn't help us to do it and things like that. They're not gonna report any issues, so I think it's just really for us to form this subcommittee to get attacked on, see what, if something that's really they care about.
I think it might be helpful to find out what they really want.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
And now they used to be every month, now I think there's only once a year, but the next time that there is a association meeting,
Yeah, an HOA meeting.
Yeah. to
Yeah.
have a representative attend.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Only thing is that board, I think, has a strong hold on them. I don't know if they're gonna feel, I don't know, maybe they will feel safe to talk, even though the board is up there. You gotta kind of get them,
Yeah.
talk to them more privately than that.
Yeah.
You know,
It was spicy the last time we went, so.
that's kind of like I don't
Yeah.
want to do this anymore.
We
Yeah.
could just disseminate like the request for information at that meeting, because you'll have so many people. there.
Right.
So that might be the avenue.
Yeah.
That might be good there.
Yeah.
Request the information there,
Is there anybody interested in heading the subcommittee for renters and tenants?
Oh,
yeah.
it's
Well,
important.
Okay.
So I think they get a lot of renter, I own, but I think a lot of renters get screwed.
I accidentally rented my house when I moved to California for a bit and learned a lot. So some insight there.
You think Miss Diane would be interested in
I
helping?
think that's
So we do have a renter a long-term renter
Yeah.
actually, on Ridge Acres.
And these subcommittee meetings are going to be open to whoever want to attend,
Yeah.
like the parks were. You know, that's how I started going. Is just here's the time we're meeting. Let's show up.
Will the committee have any power to actually do something, or we're just collecting information?
The latter.
It's gonna,
Just collecting information.
For now.
yeah.
I'll let her.
I think right now it's going to be very exploratory to figure out, okay, what are the issues? What resources can we bring in to discuss or, target these issues? And then if there is a specific recommendation, bringing it back to, bringing it back through community engagement and then ultimately to council if there's something actionable that we can do, then yeah.
And
Yeah,
depending
we're
on
not
what-
just doing lip service, we're gonna do something
and
with it.
depending on what the problems are, like, I know Gulf Manor is not the only jurisdiction exploring solutions to these problems. This is part of it too, we'll see what other communities have been doing, even in other states. And then those would be the recommendations we make to council. So first we have to define the problems and then go look at other people's solutions.
Yeah.
So eventually, yes, we can do something, but as of right now, it is to gather information.
All right, honestly, I am fine to kind of run with that piece, just so we can keep the momentum going, and then if we see somebody come through, then I'm happy to pass the torch as well, so, I don't wanna lose the momentum on it, so we'll keep that going. More info to follow. Okay, moving through, in the interest of, I'm gonna kind of combine these last two bullet points, volunteer recruitment and monthly engagement. This is something that, again, talking about this big ball of yarn that we talked about at the beginning of this meeting with, as we are, as we had in our campaign season, we had a lot of momentum with getting community engagement, with meeting a lot of new people, getting new faces involved in local happenings. How do we keep that momentum going? How do we continue to reach out to people? One of those things, the town hall is going to be kind of our first big entrance into that, having something on a systematic basis, to where we are doing something, the thought would be on a monthly basis, whether it's, the coffee corners that we had been doing or, hello.
We just talked you up.
Or, it's something on a monthly basis where, we're doing a game night in there and, community come out and you've got council members there that we are available to, to listen. Just those opportunities for it to organically happen rather than, having to call a big town hall every time. So nothing needs to be decided here, but I also in this particular moment, but kind of add that to the things to think about for the next meeting. But going into like volunteer recruitment, the idea behind that being, how can we publicize our vacancies on, people move out of the village or need to step back off of committees or commissions. How are we opening that up to other people so that everyone in the village has a fair opportunity to be a part of this, rather than just based off of, who do I know, so on and so forth. And then that way we are following a true like application process for some of these vacancies that we have. Okay. Okay. So the parks report, moving into old business. Is there anything under new business anybody wants to cover that we haven't already in this hour? Okay. Home stretch, I promise. Parks report. So Bryant had sent out this parks report. We will make sure that it gets, I think everybody on council has received it at some point or another. But it's a very good document that sums up the survey that we had on the newsletter in the fall, the information that was taken at the concert where he had the interactive board where people could place votes. A lot of really good information in here. And then Ron, you had a piece about parks kind of in relation to this, right?
So we need to figure out how to implement these ideas, because right now it's kind of like we've got this big board with all these sticky notes on it on everything that we'd like to do. I think this is organized well, but we need to know what next steps are. And I've reached out to a couple of different vendors who would assist us in walking through the process of doing additional outreach to the community, and then also trying to determine what those next steps look like, what infrastructure needs to be changed, what we need is a vision of what the park when it's done is going to look like, and then start being able to incrementally work on the pieces to start putting things together. I think that is a process of learning to find somebody who we're comfortable with. Initially, it's trying to figure out exactly what are those pieces. And I do have someone who's interested in coming in and speaking to council on that process, not necessarily selling us anything, but just to say, here's what we've done in other communities, and this is the approach that you could take. And then it's up to us at that point to decide if we want to continue to look further or if we have an interest in engaging with these folks. So,
You said right now that's tentatively scheduled for.
well, I haven't scheduled it because I haven't talked to the mayor yet and haven't talked to Brittany. This all happened today, so.
Gotcha.
Surprise.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
I really like these guys because their approach is an engineering approach to make it work. And then there's a dreamer who is the emotional, this is how it feels, this is how it looks. They're interested in finding out more about what was over there. So there is an emotional connection to what was there versus what we're going to build.
Mhm.
And they thought that report was great.
Yeah.
Um,
And a huge thanks to Bryant for getting that together. And Sarah, yes, yes. Our town hall, where we're talking about, all of this kind of rolling into the strategic plan, it'll be nice to have all of that around at the same time. So lots of good information to come. Any questions on the parks report? Okay. All right, education, Miss Cheney.
Okay, PRM, LSDMC met on January the 10th. We have 759 kids there now. Just so most some of you don't know, the school was built for 550 kids. Yeah. So LSDMC, we finally got the board to listen to us. It's part of CPS. It
Okay.
is the lead,
Locals.
local school decision-making committee.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I
Always
know
have
what
to
CPS
think
stands
about
for.
that. I know.
So decision-making committee, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what we do is, just so you know, we have three members of parents, three members are parents, 3 members are teachers, and 3 community people. We have Pleasant Ridge, we have Amberley, and me. And then Amber Simpson is the principal. So there's 9 members plus the principal.
You the president of the group?
I'm the chair now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, no, was the chair last year, now chair again this year. So we finally got the board to listen to us and give us an addition, which is being built now. Well, the addition's only gonna hold 750 kids, and we're already now at 759. And I pleaded with the board back when this, and I told Eve Bolton, I said, it's not gonna be big enough. I said, Gulf Manor's changing, and the elderly people are leaving, yeah, they're dying off, to put it, yeah.
We're elderly.
I was
gonna say, I
didn't say it.
I know,
I
like, yeah. And new people, young people are coming in with families, and so, this isn't gonna be big enough, so they're gonna have to think about, which they're already thinking about, what are we gonna do with the whole school system, because we're outgrown. I don't know if you know, Walnut Hills High School has like 1,000 too many kids, okay.
But it's also a a whole college campus there now. So
Yeah.
the school's huge.
It is, right.
Still not enough room though, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's overcrowded, right. And they say all their high schools are, there's 16 high schools. They say they're all at capacity.
Where are these kids coming
Hmm?
from? Where are these kids coming from?
I don't
16 high
know.
schools all the high schools are over capacity?
That's what they're saying, at capacity or over. But I don't know if that's really true. I haven't looked at all of them. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, just so you know, this Saturday, the school board is having a meeting at 8:30 in the morning. It will be online, and I'm going to try and listen. I don't know if you've heard or not in the news, but the school, CPS is losing their pandemic money that they used for nurses. They were able to put a nurse in every school. And that was $89 million that they were using for that. So they're going to be talking about what are they going to do going forward, because the schools really do need a nurse. So what we talked about is the one plan. And just so you know, with CPS, they get a report card from the state of Ohio. Well, all schools do get report cards. So the principals of CPS schools, at the beginning of the school year, they start writing their one plan based on that report card. How are we going to get these grades up, and what is our approach, and how we're going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're not even at the halfway point, and I am so happy to report that PRM each one of the classrooms is either at that, they've met it,
Nice.
they're right close to it, and they will make it, or they're over it. So they're doing really well this year. And we have a bunch of new teachers too, because last year we became Montessori certified. So that meant we had to let a lot of teachers go and bring in Montessori people. So I think it was 21 teachers we brought in. So it's just new, but everything's working well there. And I can tell you, if you want a high school report, I'm an alumni at Withrow. So I get a newsletter, and I found this very interesting that Withrow High School report card last year was 1.5 out of a 5. Okay. Their goal this year is to bring it to 2. But the good news is, though, that their graduating class went from 64% up to 79%. So the kids are staying in school, which is good. And that's all I have right now.
So Pleasant Ridge Montessori called a Montessori despite not being Montessori certified?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't really know what either
We
means.
worked hard to get that certified.
So how can they go by PRM, like Pleasant Ridge Montessori, if they were Montessori certified?
Well, they're teaching Montessori, but their teachers weren't certified.
That's the difference.
So the teachers had to go back and get certification,
Track.
or else move on.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon, who is responsible for the PR for those 2 pieces of information? Because that is a lot different than what you hear on the news nationwide, as
Mhm.
far as absenteeism, as far as, grades and everything else.
Uh-huh.
And I think that people ought to know that.
Oh, who's responsible for all that?
For, letting that information
I would
out.
think the district is.
I would
The
think
district
so, too.
doesn't do it very well.
I know.
District doesn't communicate to us very well either, to each school. That's why we started going, like the ad hoc meeting they have. Right now, CPS has been working on probably over a year now as to what they're gonna do to help the schools, because there's so many, I can't remember how many schools there are, but some are understaffed, under enrolled, and some are over enrolled. So what are we gonna do? Like the high schools are all way up there. So their discussion right now is, do we want to bring back junior high schools? Yeah, so they're thinking about bringing back 1 or 2 junior high schools. So the ad hoc meeting, they were supposed to go through all the data, and believe me, it is a lot of data. I was going to those meetings. And they were supposed to have that information done like a year ago and given to the board, and they couldn't make decisions. It's just so much information for, I think, 3 board people to come up with. They needed help.
Mhm.
Bring it, and that's what I told Ben Lindy. I talked to him on the phone. I said, this is bigger than them. I said, you're not going to get anywhere fast. You need to bring in, and I know it costs a fortune, but bring in an independent person and let them look at all this and let them decide what needs to be done. But they didn't. They haven't had an ad hoc meeting lately, and they're supposed to give their report to the board. I don't know what it is yet, what they're going to do.
Okay.
It'll be interesting.
And so the meeting that you referenced that is taking place Saturday morning at 8:30, is that a regular board meeting or is that
It's a special one.
a special one? Okay.
Mhm. The
Then what,
superintendent will be there. I think she's probably running it.
okay. All right.
You can go there in person if
Mhm.
you want, or you can go online.
Okay.
The information is on their calendar on their CPS page,
Okay, got it.
or I can send it to you.
That would be great. That would be
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that, for that update. All right, moving into recreation, and then this is our last, sizable topic here, so we'll try to wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. Okay, so for the Recreation Commission, we had members nominated and appointed back, October. And then the election happened, so we've got a couple of vacancies that we are looking to fill. So see above section about, getting new, replacing members on different commissions and committees. But the status that we are at right now is because one of the goals of this commission is to be working closely with children and planning and doing programming. We do need to have a policy for background checks. So that is the current status right now. So right now, until we are at a point where we have all of the background checks approved and that process is flushed out, it's still going to kind of be under community engagement until we can set it off out free into the world. And we have all of those outlined. I know that the mayor had a presentation that he had wanted to present, back in November. Would you be able to send me another copy of that, like electronically?
You may have to remind me, I forgot my cell phone at home, so.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that and sit down, if I can't find it.
Okay. I know I had a paper copy and I also cannot find it.
I
I'll
should-
text
should
you
be
a
ready.
reminder right now if you send me a copy too.
All right. Email me, that'll be easy.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes, so that is the next step. And then we will send out more information to everybody that has been appointed to the commission about collecting the application forms so that we are able to then run those background checks, and then any other applicable information, just so we have everybody's contact information and we can disseminate information out much more easily than, a text here and there. And then from there, it really is just kind of brainstorming about what you want from this rec commission. What do you, what do you envision, programming or things like that will look like? I know that the mayor has a lot of thoughts on how he wants that to look like. So
The commission's defined by charter.
Yeah.
So there's, that was basically my presentation. to let
Gotcha.
them know what the charter says they're supposed to do.
Oh, perfect.
And within that, they're supposed to be an independent entity, so they wouldn't be taking my input per se.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So, the more we have that presentation, that would be helpful. Because then that way we can disseminate that out to everybody and review it. We do have the next tentative meeting would be 2 weeks from now, right on the tail end of the community engagement meeting, to where we can get everybody together with a lot more notice than what I was able to give for this meeting. And that way we can kind of go over all of those ordinances and those rules to figure out what that structure is going to look like for all the commissioners. Any questions, any input, anything whatsoever? Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I was hesitating.
Yeah.
I do think it would be helpful if some of us took the time to go through what is owned by Recreation currently in the building, so that when Rec is in tenant and fully going, they know what they're working with.
Yes.
And also where to find it, 'cause I'm kind of like in rafters and
Mm-hmm.
boxes, so
Yeah, I agree.
I like digging through junk, so I volunteer myself, but I
Really?
would like help, please.
I am more than happy to help because I
Okay.
also want to, I know this room and I know the big hall and that's about it. So,
And Ms. Cheney, I believe you are intimately aware with a lot of these things that are being stored. So do you want to go through junk with us?
Sounds like you're being voluntold.
I was sending this to Charlotte and didn't catch it.
It's totally fine. Would you mind going through Recreation's items around the building with us so we can take an inventory of them at some point?
Oh, I guess.
Or maybe a couple points. It might not be completed in one day.
Okay, I don't know how much is left. We cleaned out the downstairs, didn't we? Uh-huh. I don't think there's a whole lot left other than what's in that room.
There's not a lot, because
Well-
they pretty much consumed what was purchased.
I know there are at least 1,000 plastic Easter eggs around here.
A lot of those.
I don't
That was a
think
very
so.
serious.
What?
IKEA bags
I think
full.
there's, there might be some downstairs in those bins. A lot of those were bought by my sister and I.
Yeah.
there's a downstairs.
Yeah,
That's how much I know.
we had a recreation cabinet down there.
Nice. Okay.
Oh,
Very
And
cool.
then, I mean, there's the breakfast with Santa stuff. There's
Yeah.
Schaefer's and
Yeah.
and so I think just knowing like we have 3 Schaefer's, but half of them are missing lids. So
Yeah, they're
we're about to
missing.
throw
Well,
away.
there's a good point to that, because we want to clean that kitchen out,
Yeah,
and there's just all kinds of stuff in those cabinets that nobody uses.
there's sugar from like 1990.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
And dressing from 2000s.
Oh, gross.
Excellent.
So I think that's something that we can do behind the scenes to
But
get the committed.
The plates, that's all vintage though. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. Yes, I appreciate the sentiment of wanting to set everybody up for success.
Mhm.
And we do not have to reinvent the wheel. These are the things that are available to us so that as they are being taken into consideration for whatever we're trying to plan,
Mhm.
we know what we are working with.
I don't think I've been in the basement exploring too much since we cleared it out. Were things like the old sucker poles, were those disposed of, or are they still down
I
there?
have concluded.
Because we do have things from old festivals that actually could be really useful for events.
There was baseball, there was
Equipment that could be
baseball
reused and
stuff.
saved.
Okay, awesome.
We had the old softball and baseball stuff down there too,
No,
and
no way.
bats.
'Cause it
Did we
was all
donate
rotted.
those to community? I thought we talked about the Reds community.
The
A
youth
lot of the stuff
foundation?
down there was
Thrown
no
away.
longer usable.
Yeah, wasn't good anymore.
All right.
That was all.
I guess we'll find out.
Motion to dismiss.
Motion.
I mean, said adjourn.
Yes, so the next community engagement committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 8th at 6 p.m. and tentative recreation, depending on where things stand, but we'll just build it in for community engagement. We'll plan for that one. Motion on the table to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Let's do it.